Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Scoot, joined by Dicko, racing's biggest hipster. Dicko, it must have been pretty fat last Saturday. You tipped out Western Sun as your best bet at Caulfield, and it bolted in. Craig Williams gave it a peach steer and $6.50 for the listeners.
It was a very nice way to sort of get the ball rolling for Little Birdie, Scooty. I would have expected you to be in a bit of a better mood considering the most of the panel here delivered the goods last week. It actually SP'd 9, so you've stitched me there again. Hopefully this week's show can be half as good as last week's, and hopefully SEN can think it's as good as week 2's. They thought that week episode 2 was that good. They played a little bit of it last week as well. So hopefully we can get this thing just smooth, get the ball rolling a little bit better, and I think each week we're getting a little bit sharper.
I think so, and you couldn't have got much sharper than top rope Tedeschi last week. Penny Panthers defeated off the stick Sydney Roosters.
Cop that, the defending premiers.
Ooh!
Bang. That's a good way to start the season. Good angle, gets the job done.
And it
in front of some big crowds too there, wasn't it?
Bigger than there will be this week.
But they still have to watch the Steedens?
Oh, God, you hope so. That's entertainment.
PBL. I can't wait for Rugby League to get going again this weekend. It was great last weekend, and they got their hand out asking for some more cash this weekend. He's an interesting operator.
Future Hall of Famer, maybe.
That'll be very contentious. And the Mighty Storm got it done. The hometown team, $1.64 out to probably, $1.88?
Out there at Brookie.
What did we say last week? The price was drifting, just bet again.
Just keep going.
$1.88 they jumped.
Oh, yeah, it was a car crash last Saturday for me at the Gold Coast, so it got me out. I was out with the missus, and I come back and I had money in the bank, so I was really, really pleased with that. But Cam and Ian have got plenty of pressure. Welcome, boys. Round 1 AFL. You guys must be happy you still got a job.
Lots and lots of pressure, like death at Tedeschi last weekend. It was mentioned to me that he went from a rugby league expert on Twitter to all of a sudden a corona expert overnight. He might have been getting a little bit ahead of himself.
He's a big tweeter.
I'm not on my Pat Malone there either. Just quietly.
But no, very excited to be here and excited about the AFL getting started. And the big man got most AFL punters away with a Melbourne Storm tip up. So that was great.
Yeah, it was great stuff. All right, we'll cut the dribble and let's get into the AFL round 1. I don't know if you guys can get Carlton to beat the Tigers, is what Top Rope did, but we'll see what happens. Now, Cam, the game's changed in a lot of ways. I thought Gil McLaughlin's been handling himself exceptionally. Some journalists out there have been handling themselves very, very poorly in contrast.
I had flashbacks to when I was a lot younger, and had a slightly obese, balding man who looked like he was half cut, dribbling to me about what was going on in life, like my father. No, it was Robbo. He's on TV and he was asking the head of the AFL genuine questions. He thought that Gil didn't know. Was that English, Chet? No. Awful TV. Just play on. No, nothing to see here.
He hasn't had a good week, has he, Robbo?
Thankfully, you guys have still got your job, and we're not going to keep asking about that. But
I think it's pretty strong behaviour, really.
He got Alfred.
Yeah, but did he lose his job? No, he's sweet. He can go on TV.
Sweet. Play on. Speaking of play on, let's talk about probably one of the matches of the week, Western Bulldogs Collingwood.
Yep. Probably I think the first I was going to talk about before we talk about any of the games was, in my lifetime, this is 2 of the biggest unknowns in betting involved this round. A, we've got no crowds, and B, we've got reduced quarters. So it's really, really hard to know what that's going to do. No crowds diminishes the home ground advantage, and it sort of, because of the umpires, and it gets rid of the noise of affirmation. I don't know what the AFL are going to do in terms of noise when a team kicks a goal. Like they may do some fake crowd noises. I don't know. And the other thing that it diminishes possibly is, what's it like when you're lining up for goal without the crowd pressure? Maybe accuracy could go up as well.
I think it improves. I think Richo spoke about that a few years ago, that it's, with the big crowd in the background behind the goals, it's actually harder to kick them. But when you don't, and you see it at country football and suburban football, the full forwards never miss. So it'll be interesting to see what that has on the goal.
Yeah, especially
I think it improves.
With less wind too at the bigger stadiums. This is actually going to be my little pearl I was keeping up my sleeve. I think you're spot on.
Yeah, and I went for a little trot down Batman Avenue this morning, and I heard them test the siren. And then, I don't know, it was because Cam was in my ear, but I was starting to think that I was hearing crowd noises. So I could be jumping at shadows, or I could just be very excited that the footy's back. But it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Is there any blanket rule for weaker teams with the shorter quarters or things like that? Do you expect the competition to be more even, or is there any teams that sort of pop out that might be suited by the shorter style, like the younger kids?
Yeah, well, the shorter quarters brings teams closer together because you lose 80% of your match time. So if you had not that we have a handicap of 100, but if you had a handicap of 100, that would reduce to 80. And if we had a handicap of 50, that would reduce to 40. If we had a handicap of 25, that's reducing to 20. So it brings all the teams a lot closer together. And then probably the other thing that does with the reduced quarters is the totals. It's a massive thing again.
Have they adjusted now the totals that are relevant to the new amount of time?
Well, everyone's pulled them down, and no one's gone back up again. But with 80% reduction of totals,
controversy,
you're probably looking at total points in the range of 135 to 140.
Oh wow, that low.
But we're half tipping. They're going to kick a little bit straighter.
They can kick a little bit straighter.
So we might look at the over.
That's
and
correct.
then Top Rope last week said that he wanted to be on the overs, so we've got two-way action here. We might have some side hustle later.
Yeah, completely.
Now, looking at the first big blockbuster, Western Bulldogs, Collingwood, the market's very close at top spot, 183 and 202. Any angle here, lads?
For me, I quite like the Dogs here. I think the Pies have had a few injury issues in the recent weeks leading up to it, and the Dogs finished the season really strongly last year. It'd be good to see how the new key position players go. So for me, I'm putting up the Dogs here in this match, and quite like them at the 202.
Yeah, I like the Dogs early at the -6.5. A bit of that's gone out of it for me so far, so I probably couldn't be putting that up at the moment. But if I had to be one or the other, I'd be the Dogs.
I think that the no crowd's a big plus for them, yeah?
Yeah, that's definitely a positive for them.
And a big plus for the younger forwards who, like, they still can take marks and be good in the contested footy, but there's no pressure on that set shot.
Yep.
And they're starting to find their feet at this level now.
Yeah, and they're historically really inaccurate, the Dogs. So.
And in the previous episodes we've talked about, they're probably going to dominate through the midfield this season. It's just if they can convert that.
Yep, absolutely.
Is there any angle in it around bigger fan base clubs are suffering more with the no crowds? Obviously, Collingwood have a huge fan base, so they suffer a lot more than, say, the Dogs, who probably don't have the numbers that would normally show up.
You would think that's definitely the case, and more so when you've got the one-sided crowds with either home ground advantage, like West Coast and Adelaide, but also if you've got a Richmond playing at Doggies, for example, the advantage is diminished somewhat.
Yeah, and there's the Essendon Fremantle game marvels a ghost town as it is every day of the week, so I can only imagine the tumbleweeds that sort of roll through there. But Essendon look a horrible price at $1.47 against Fremantle, $2.75.
New coach.
And lots of injuries. They've got half the team available. Like, I just can't believe my eyes when I see that price.
So you quite like Fremantle?
Well, I don't like either of them, but bad sides at bad prices. I'd rather go down swinging at $2.75 than $1.47 with a team that's got so many injuries.
Yeah, I'm totally the opposite way here. I think Freo finished the season poorly last year, and they're going to lose Mundy, they're going to lose Hill, and they're going to lose Langdon, three of their best players last year. Mm-hmm. They lose a bit of experience. And I think that Essendon, they have got some injuries, but I still think they've got enough cattle to really smash the Dockers here. So I'm pretty keen on the Essendon minus.
Minus 14.5.
Yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Since 2012, the Bombers have covered it as 37% when favoured, so they haven't been great.
I just love Top Rope's two-way. He just wants to keep swinging and throwing them, and then he's going to put Cam in a sleeper hold by probably episode 3, I think. Now, the next two games have had apparent...
Had an apparent...
The next two games is Adelaide and Gold Coast Suns with a home ground advantage that looks like it's almost lost.
Yeah, I really liked this one early. Adelaide at home, I had them rated equal or better than the Swans going into the season. Now that home ground and that mummy's umbrella is gone for them, I feel that a lot of that value actually goes out of it. And with the shortened quarter, that line now is not really for me. So that's a bit disappointing, that one. Liked it early, the minus 5.5, but probably can't be putting it up. And if anything, there's probably a play back the other way now on the Swans.
Good boy.
But stay out of that one.
Cam, any thoughts on Gold Coast Suns, Port Adelaide?
Gold Coast Suns, Port Adelaide, quite like Port Adelaide. I think they've had a really good pre-season. Not that there's a huge home ground advantage or home crowd advantage with Gold Coast, but that gets diminished a little bit. And with Dixon back, I think they're travelling really well. So
is he back? Is he going to come up, Dixon?
Well, I hope so.
I'm with Cam on the Port Adelaide one there. I just think there's a lot of hype about the Suns, but at the end of the day, they're young kids, and their best player that I believe is their best player, Sexton. He's the guy that bobs up and kicks a few goals for the Gold Coasters. He's not playing, so I like the more mature bodies up there at Port as well.
I tell you what, it's very physical inside this studio today. Everyone wants to have a piece of each other.
You've come in like sort of
I've come in a
wound
little
up
bit
and
hot.
angry. Like, you need to relax. The boys are trying to find their feet. It's a very, very unique situation
It's
they're
humid.
in. They're on the radio. They're trying to tip out good information in an unknown environment.
And I'll be honest,
you
they
gotta-
don't call this social distancing. It was quite
Well, that's what I was going to ask Cam about. Like, what sort of effect has the corona outbreak had on your sort of Tinder and Hinge activity?
I thought this was off.
you got to stop this.
I got a couple of messages online asking me to keep digging here, and one of them might have been from your old man. Is he on Twitter? He claimed it was your old man.
Now, Douse, is there any rumour that you've been fighting on? Speaking of Twitter, have you been throwing jumper punches at David King on Twitter in the last week or so?
Oh, I thought he was off the pace there with his comments around Cam Zerha the other day, but that was about it. You got to jump in there and have your thought every now and again.
Let's look at the Sunday games. North Melbourne play St Kilda. The Saints are favourite 180 and the Kangas are 205.
I think Cam and I differ here. You like the Saints here, old mate, is that right?
Yeah, I think I've spoke on previous episodes how the improvement I've seen the Saints this year, and with Benny Brown not guaranteed to be fully fit or not playing, then I'm pretty keen on the Saints here.
Yeah. For me, the Saints are a bit unproven. We haven't really seen it yet from the Saints. There's a lot of hype about their recruits coming in. I'd probably prefer to hang back and just have a look at it and see if it actually that the improvement does come. I think North, bigger bodies, a bit more mature. They'll go in hard and hit them hard. I'd probably stay out of this one at the moment, but if old mate's jumping in, I couldn't tell him no, that's for sure.
Okay, so the next game is the Hawkeys versus the Lions. You two can keep quiet and just remain irrelevant. Cam, we need an unbiased, impartial opinion here. Can we back the Lions here at the $1.80?
I wouldn't be backing the Lions. I'd be shouldering arms on this game.
Good call.
You liked Hawks early.
I like the Hawks
yeah.
early, but with the no crowds there and the reduced quarters, I just think I'll leave it alone.
Do you think
They'd be relieved that they're still able to play pokies. They just had to get rid of each poker machine in between the other, so they can still get that revenue. That's handy for the club.
Not sure where he's going with that one,
We
but
spoke about this last
it's
week.
his only angle to bag Hawthorn? He can't find any other reason to pot us. Now, Hawthorn have said that they're going to try a bigger forward line, or it's been mooted in the press, if you can believe that. Will the shorter format help big forwards or not, you think, the shorter game style?
I was thinking it would. It'll help teams that are explosive and reduce the number of rotations. So teams with big forwards, teams with strong players, I think it only helps them. So it doesn't work in the favour of teams that run out games well, that are fit.
Are you guys surprised, like, just a bit outside of the topic, but why haven't we not isolated each and every player and relevant person in the AFL and quarantined them away from society so that the competition can go on? Does that not strike everyone as a bit dull? Dumb?
I think that's what they have been doing, isn't it? They've been bunkering down
in their houses.
Well, they've got to train, don't they?
2 weeks' time when we've got nothing to talk about, I reckon your opinion will be different.
I'm no expert on coronavirus, my friend.
I'm not going to put my opinion on corona issues.
I'm just waiting for the bookies to start betting on it. I'm sure there'd be plenty of turnover and plenty of different opinions.
Gamble responsibly.
The last game that we're going to talk about is West Coast Eagles and the Demons. You guys have got a definite angle here. We've got West Coast 136, Melbourne 325, and the Lions 19.5.
Well, I sort of made it what it was around about that 25 mark, and I think the Ds actually match up quite well against the West Coast. So even during last year when the Ds were terrible and the West Coast were up and running, West Coast only won those games by 16 and 13 points respectively. So I think there's something there with the way that the D's match up against the West Coast. And I think now with the air going out of the balloon, Mummy's umbrella's gone. So I think at that line, that effectively is 24.5, that 19.5 with the time difference. So I think if you're going to have a play, there's a play on the D's there to be out. And the D side actually does look pretty strong going into round one.
Yeah, I agree with Dowso here. I'll be backing the D's in this game.
Straight out or with the start?
Both.
Beautiful.
Okay. So best of the week?
Yeah, it's probably that one for me, the D's.
Yeah, for myself was the Essendon minus, the D's plus. That's the two.
Fearless. That's why we love him. That's why we have the boys on. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. Just remember, if your bet's rejected, it's time to sack your bookie and bet with a bookmaker you can trust. Topsport.com.au is the bookie that we trust. And please remember to gamble responsibly. Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm your host, Scoot, joined by Dicko and Top Rope Tedeschi. He's on fire. He's that hot. Penny Panthers, the Storm. He was all over it round one. It's been a big week in rugby league.
Rugby league.
The world game. The world game.
The world game.
Greatest game of all. It's last man standing.
Well,
It just doesn't stop putting itself in the headlines, which is a huge asset, and not always and not often is it a positive headline. but noise is noise, and everyone's been talking about rugby league all week.
in these dark and dangerous times, there's no one you'd want leading you more than the great Peter V'landys.
I love it. He keeps very quiet when he's got players sneaking into DMs of schoolgirls who are over the age of consent. But then up he comes asking for a bit more cash. A little bit like he did back in the day for, which was that? The Hendra, Scooty?
Well, no, yeah, the equine flu. Yeah, so he loves putting the...
you can put the hand out for cash.
Wow, he's a big man in times of flu. That's what he's a big man in.
Yeah.
He always sounds like he's half sick too.
But you mentioned offline that the AFL leader looks like he went to a good school, and the rugby league leader looks like he could be involved in some kind of underworld activity. Well,
yes.
That wasn't taken as a knock by any rugby league fans. Tony Soprano seemed to be able to get a job done.
That's why they're washing the Steedens. Anyway, it was enough to keep ScoMo away. Let's talk about the team under a little bit of controversy and North
Controversy, Scooty. If we talk rugby league, we've got to say controversy.
Okay, North Queensland Cowboys versus Canterbury Bulldogs at ANZ Stadium. The line's 2.5. Do you like the game or leave it?
Don't love it. Lean towards the under, concerned with the no crowd thing. Slight lean Dogs, big under angles both sides. Canterbury 23 and 12. Under at ANZ, 20 and 10 when an underdog at the ground. Cowboys 5-0 under interstate.
And the Cows have to bounce back after a pretty lacklustre effort last week against the Broncos, who came out firing.
Very ordinary last week, the Cows. So I lean the under, but won't be getting too heavily involved in any under this weekend.
Friday night, Penny Panthers versus St George Illawarra, 162, 235, 3.5 is the start.
Love the Dragons here. Loved them at plus.
Last time you were harsh on McGregor.
There is. I hate McGregor still. I despise McGregor, but I don't rate the Panthers at all this year, despite their win week one. Big angle here, not quite fitting with the top sport at the moment, but around the joint. Home underdogs 4 or more. First 4 weeks of the season, 46 and 18 against the spread.
I missed a little bit of the Penny Panthers round one action. How did the biggest chin in rugby league go, young Ivan?
Yeah, he was excellent. Young Ivan. He had a great game, but look, they were all up for it. Round one, Roosters, all of a sudden they're favoured. They're a terrible team as a favourite. Coverage of 6 or 17 as a favourite. I'm more than happy to take the Dragons, and they've got Matt Duffy back at fullback this week.
I do think this self-isolating direction from the government, I think it could have a huge impact on the variance that rugby league teams have. Because traditionally, like if the Penny Panthers rolled the Roosters round one, they would have been at the Leagues Club till 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. I'm not joking. Now they're not.
Now they're just having a lock-in.
Yeah.
I love how he just opposes every angle. Tedeschi's like the hop on, hop off bus. 1 week he's on the Panthers, then he's off them. He's just savage for $1.
You can't side with the public in rugby league. It's a quick way to go, bro.
All right, the big game. The Broncos versus Souths. Wayne versus Seabolt. Up at Suncorp, the Cauldron.
187 Broncos, 196 the Rabbits. Flip of a coin, really.
Absolutely love this game for a couple of reasons. First up, I think Souths get the money. This is Bennett, Seabold, Bennett hates Seabold. And this is not a kind of philosophical coaching feud. This is legit hate. So Bennett's going to have all the boys ready to go. I think the Broncos are pretenders this year despite round one. So I'll be on the Bunnies with a reasonable amount of confidence. But a bit of lair for the punters out there in this one. We're going to be taking the over with a great deal of confidence. Broncos big over team at Suncorp full stop. 21-9 at Suncorp off scoring 28 or more. Rabbitohs a big over team away from ANZ, particularly at night. So I'm going to back the over 41.5, but the lair 61 plus points. You can get about $8 on that. So I'll be going. I think this will be a real high scorer.
A lot of meat on the bone. And
Gamble responsibly.
The line's already moved 41.5 to the flat 42 at topsport.com.au.
Just get on now.
Ooh, it's a get on too.
Responsibly.
So Saturday.
It'd be responsible not to get on, Dicko.
Saturday, Canberra Raiders versus New Zealand Warriors away.
This is fascinating, Top Rope. What do we do with the Warriors?
It's pretty easy for me. You bet against them, and you bet against them till they go home. This is not. This could not be a worse situation for the Warriors. One, they're their team outside of Australia, so they've been isolated from their families. They were unprepared for it. So none of them have packed, all just the silly stuff. None of them have packed for anything. They've got no.
May I interrupt? Being isolated from your family is probably a positive thing.
I haven't heard of that.
For a week or two. Sort of, I'd be tempted to go the other way here because they've had a holiday in Australia. Like, it's not that bad.
So I would agree. Had they been on the Gold Coast all week, I would agree completely. They've been on the Central Coast. Not a great place of entertainment.
Bulldogs had a good time up there.
That was the North Coast.
I think the profession changes a lot. Jack's a professional horse racing punter, and then these guys are professional athletes. They're just different gravy. So I don't know if the isolation is going to do them much good at all.
There's also a lot of family issues, pregnant wives back home, wives in the ear, get back home, all that kind of stuff. And they've also copped the Canberra Raiders this week. Now, Canberra can put a team to the sword like no one else.
They like disseminated, just destroyed the Titans last week.
And they
it
scored
wasn't
24.
even a contest.
They could have scored 50.
They just slowly just chewed through them, didn't they?
Yeah. So I reckon
Methodical.
Completely agree. So I will be taking the minus 12.5 now, and I will be backing them alternate lines all the way up to probably minus 29.5.
Now this clash on Saturday afternoon, the Roosters and Manly at Leichhardt looks an absolute beauty. Roosters on the bounce.
I'll be backing Manly in this one.
Why are we playing at Leichhardt?
They're trying to do it so the broadcasters don't move around a lot. So it was originally scheduled for the Central Coast, but there's a game at Leichhardt on Sunday, so they're just going to keep all the cameras there. Same reason they're playing 2 games at the Gold Coast and 2 games at Cogwood this weekend. So it's just to reduce travel, I think. I like Manly a lot here. They're a great bet as an underdog. They're 18-8 against the spread when they get 4 or more points. 29-15 against the spread as an underdog. They've covered 11 of the last 15 away from Brookie as an underdog. Look, Roosters still no Boyd Cordner. Lost to Tilly Tupanoa this week. I'm pretty happy about the Eagles here. I think the Eagles are a legit premiership contender this year.
Wow. So Norton 2 for the defending premiers. That's big news. Cronulla and our favourite team of the week, or almost, Melbourne Storm. So Storm 150 away, 262, and the line's 5.5.
So the Sharkies playing at Jubilee.
Jubilee for the entire year.
15 minutes up the road from Shark Park.
Not a big deal. And actually better facilities. So I love the Sharks here. Love the Sharks here off the Storm. Week 2. Home underdogs of 4 or more. I'll rattle on about it again in another game later in the week, but this is the angle that just funds rugby league season after rugby league season. So I'll be on them. Home underdogs of 4 or more, full stop, cover at 58%. Look, the Storm are definitely a better team. A little bit rusty last week. They've got to travel back and forth. I'm pretty happy just about the Sharks with a 5.5. Storm, it's a projected low scoring game as well, so I'm pretty keen just to take the points here. Don't know about them straight off the stick. I'll just be taking the 5.5.
Okay, probably not much interest in the Sunday games. Maybe head to @LittleBirdiePod to get our selections for Sunday. We might just keep something up the sleeve for our Twitter followers. But what's your best bet for the week, or best 2 bets?
I'm going to give you 2, the Dragons. I'll go straight off the stick there because I think it's into 3.5 now, is it? If you can get 4, take the +4. And I will be taking the Sharks +5.5.
Gutsy play from the top rope. Impressive.
Well, I tell you what, if you got Penrith Panthers or Storm money, you got plenty. and you just back this guy in until you drop. I just love how disloyal he is. Teams, he can just jump off and on as quick as you can say coronavirus.
Well, that's been rugby league for this
It
week.
has been rugby league.
Rugby league.
Now, top rope, you have been on fire with the Hall of Fame.
That's a matter of debate on Twitter, I'm led to believe.
This could be his last appearance on Little Birdie. It's very, very controversial what he might be about to do, punters.
We need a solicitor.
Might be an out of Little Birdie into consigliere for the great man.
It's a star-studded lineup in the Little Birdie Hall of Fame. We opened up with Howard Ratner from Uncut Gems. Racing New South Wales Stewards were in week 2, and Tyrrell Hatton made the cut on week 3.
Unfortunately, he might be the last golfer we have in there for the unforeseeable future.
Oh, it's devastating, the lack of golf. Yeah.
What about playing one day of it?
Oh, no. That was, you just get to Monday morning, you expect to be seeing the last round of the players. There's no better live betting opportunity than the last round of the players, and all of a sudden, here you are. What are you doing? Watching an old 30 for 30.
Then they postpone indefinitely the Masters.
Yeah. I have not had a sports bet since Sunday. I'll tell you what, the last time that happened, the year did not start with a 2.
Oh, we're going to have to get your temperature checked on the way out of here at Top Rope. Let's talk about Hall of Fame. This week, there's a couple of people that we could contend with.
Who are the contenders, Scooty? Who are the contenders?
I think Gil McLaughlin's handled the week beautifully. AFL's on. Our show's on.
Robbo?
Betting's on. Robbo should be in the Hall of Shame.
I think Hall of Fame.
All I know is that in times of crisis, you want genuine leadership. You want a man who's decisive. What's Gil flip-flopped all week? We're lucky a game on, 16.5-minute quarters. You know what's existing in its entirety this week? Rugby league.
Rugby league.
And I don't see any other way than putting the great Peter V'landys.
People have been playing rugby league in Australia for hundreds of years. No, they haven't, Peter. The white man hasn't even been here for hundreds of years. You idiot.
And I think if we put PVL into the Hall of Fame, that'd rip the walls down of Little Birdie, our punters. We're for the punter, and they'd rip the walls down. So I'm actually, going to get one from a little bit wide, and I'm going to say Alligator Blood. He's won a handful of races in a row. He's swab positive, absolutely positive, up at the Magic Millions. They haven't got the 2 samples ready to go, but he's cashed in. The punters have got paid.
And you know what?
Punters have got paid. What punters got paid? I backed Superstorm in the Australian Guineas, mate.
Chips in Alligator Blood. I can cop that. And do we know, is this a performance-enhancing drug? Was this just a Joey John situation? He's up on the Gold Coast, Alligator Blood, just having a good time.
Alligator Blood, it's for me.
I think that's really
They've had a big week, PVL and Gil. Let's put Alligator Blood in for week 3. I've overruled Tedeschi. You can run the segment, but sometimes Big Brother's going to have to step in.
Nah, look, you had the Scoot Army onto me early throughout the week. There was a Twitter storm blowing up. The word was that St. Peter was not going to get the nod, but having backed Alligator Blood the whole way through, I can cop Alligator Blood. Good addition to the Hall of Fame.
Having not backed Alligator Blood once in my life and backed many horses run second to a particularly Superstorm in the Australian Guineas, I'm repulsed by this. I think it's not sweet at all. And PVL, the bloke's going to make NRL unbettable for you soon, like he's made racing in New South Wales unbettable for most pros I know, and Scoot could dive much deeper into that. He's bad for sport and very, very bad for anyone who gambles upon it.
He's the one man who won't let coronavirus stop him.
We'll move on. Thanks for joining us, Top Rope. We'll see you again next week, and let's pray for rugby league.
Rugby league.
Welcome back to Little Birdie. I'm Scoot, joined by Dicko, and we've got Michael Cuz Walker joining us to talk Golden Slipper. He's on the favourite Tagaloa. It's been $9.50 into $4.80. Mickey, how are you, mate?
Morning, guys. Yeah, I'm really great. Obviously looking forward to the weekend.
You've got two key rides up there on Saturday. We're going to focus on Tagaloa in the Golden Slipper. You've drawn a beautiful alley. There's a fair bit of speed outside and some inside. What are you sort of thinking speed map-wise, Michael?
My manager and I will...
Is that Alstein?
Nah, he wishes. We're working to Liam, and we'll really go through it with a fine-tooth comb and then work out what we need to do. I have some sort of idea, but obviously a race like this, you want to nail it down before you get there, and don't worry, I'll have it sorted. I'll just need the luck, these bigger races, you need that luck.
Were you pretty happy with what he did last start, just to sort of tick over, ready for the big dance on Saturday?
Yeah, definitely. He ran super the other day. It was only a small field. And then when the horse, that Timmy Clark rode, the horse Snowden's, put over here that it was going forwards, I thought it changed my tact, and I thought, I'm going back. It's not the grand final yet, even though we were there to win. It wasn't the grand final, so he ran home super. He ran home in like 33-2 or 3 or something, and the winner ran home at 33-7. Looked like he did it easy. He had the inside rail to follow, so
yeah, completely
I had to
blessed
go
him
around
around
the other horses. I had to go around the other horses, so to run home quicker than him going around, covering more ground going around, was pretty good.
Now, a little birdie tells me it's a bit of thug life at the moment, Mickey Walker. You know, private planes for track gallops, private jets everywhere, just bling all over the shop. What's going on, mate?
Yeah, obviously with the coronavirus and so forth, if we go on a domestic flight, we are stood down from riding. So this time of year, you cannot afford to take any chances with that, because obviously with the slipper and the whole carnival in Sydney, so I wouldn't say I'm travelling like boss life in the old jets. It's something that we have to do. I'll tell you one thing, it's making me poorer having to chip in and help the boys and pay for them.
I think you'll still be going okay.
Yeah, I think you'll be travelling. And I think with all that downtime, I've also heard that you got some new sticks as well, and you're starting to terrorise people out on the golf course there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very thankful to my best mate's father and Alan Steeny, Big Head Steeny, for contacting Callaway, and I need to thank Callaway for coming on board and supplying me with some outstanding clubs, and I'm really looking forward to getting out there. It's a little bit hard this time, carnival time, but I'm looking forward to getting out there and sort of looking like the next best golfer around.
Mickey, back to the ponies. You've got a really nice ride in the Rosehill Guineas. Sherwood Forest won the good race in Kiwi Land. Comes here, you've drawn wide. You roll forward here and set the tempo.
He's a funny horse. Obviously, I only had the one ride on him, and I got to learn a lot about the horse. But I, from all people, all connections, Tony, Pike, and the people that had ridden the horse before, they always told me to be wary of him. He's so big in the gates. He's a big horse that he doesn't get claustrophobic, but he just gets antsy and wants to get out of there.
Yep.
So it's going to really determine on how good he jumps out the barriers on Saturday to where we will be. But it's another race, I need to do my form because, I love for him to win it. But going towards a derby, he's also want to be on.
Perfect.
And you're back with a bang off injury. How low can you ride now, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good after the injuries and our last operation and so forth. 54 is like where I'll ride. I'm still on my diet and training, so things are going good. I'm really happy with my weight, and mentally, physically, I've never been stronger.
Perfect, mate. Appreciate your time. All the best on the weekend. Hope you can win the big one. Well done. Good luck.
All good. Thanks very much. Cheers.
That was Michael Walker, and now it's time for Daniel O'Sullivan, the unofficial mayor of Fiji. He probably owns half of it. He's with us to talk the big races in Sydney.
Hey guys, how are you?
Fantastic. Let's get into the slipper. We've just heard Michael Walker give Tagaloa a pump up. What's your thoughts on the big race?
Yeah, look, I think he's right on the mark there. I think Tagaloa and Farnan clearly the two best chances in the race. You can probably back both of them, in my opinion. The first thing I'll point out is they both fit the ideal profile of a slipper winner. They're coming off the Sydney lead-up 2 weeks before the big race, running 1-2. That's the right profile for a slipper winner. Extremely profitable if you simply back horses that fit that profile over the years. And they also bring, the best rating and form credentials in the race. Tagaloa off his Blue Diamond win, Farnan off the Todman. Tagaloa was ridden pretty quiet there in the Todman. He'll be much better And I've always thought, ever since the preview, the Blue Diamond Prelude, I think it was, that he's a horse that relishes a high-pressure race, and we saw that in the Blue Diamond. He's going to get that here. I think he could be probably one of the strongest late at the end of 1,200. So, yeah, they're my two clearly on top. I'll be probably shorter than the market on both of those, so good opportunity to back both.
Have you attempted, which would not be easy, but have you attempted to map this race yet?
Yeah, look, I have. I think, like everyone, there's going to be high pressure. I do expect, though, that Farnan will probably get across a lot easier than what people think. He's pretty quick out of the gates. I'm not sure what Michael Walker said, but I'm sure Tagaloa will be somewhere up there.
He's very coy, up his sleeve
behaviour.
Yeah,
they'll be mindful that their main danger is drawn out wide, so I'm sure he won't be letting him get across too easily. And, yeah, plenty of others punching up inside. Mildred there will be punching forward as well. So I think it's going to be a fast-run race. There's no doubt about that. So it's going to be a serious test at 1,200, and, yeah, there'll be nowhere to hide. But as I said, I think Tagaloa's a super strong 1,200 horse, and in time he's going to make a 1,400 to 1,600 metre horse. So I think that's a nice profile in a high-pressure race. And as I said, yeah, Farnan also fits the profile. So I think that they're clearly the two best for me.
Off your database and the way you analyse racing, have you got a prediction for how the track will play on Saturday, given we've got a soft 7 currently, the rail's out 3, and we've got 2 reasonably hot days coming up leading into the Golden Slipper Day at Rosehill?
Yeah, look, I think the track has to get back to a 4 or 5, and it's going to be mid-30s or above 30 both days here in Sydney, both Thursday and Friday. So surely it has to get back to something like at least a 5, if not a 4. Look, historically, the only real opinion I can form going in is just to think it's going to play evenly. Obviously, you have to watch early, but there's plenty of recent evidence to say the track plays pretty well. You certainly will be able to run on from the back if it does play evenly. There's good history there of similar meetings where there's been plenty of horses figuring the finish from well back. But equally, if you've got the talent, you can race up on pace. So hopefully it does play that way. There has been the odd meeting where it's been a little bit fence-off type of thing, and you want to get 3 or wider around the bend and in the straight. So, yeah, it's hard to be definitive, but I'll be going in just thinking it's going to be relatively even and then adjusting if necessary.
Okay, so the Rosehill Guineas, race 6, 2,000 metres, Group 1 for the 3-year-olds. We spoke to Michael Walker earlier, and my read off it, Dan, was he's not going to roll forward on Sherwood Forest. He's just going to sort of jump and see where he lobs. Doesn't want to use him up too much as he's aimed at a derby. I thought the speed map here looked pretty tricky. You?
Oh, look, I think it's not a particularly strong race. I mean, I don't think anything's been setting the world on fire. Probably, I don't know if they've been adamant about riding the Holy One sort of back. Back last spring he was sort of ridden forward, and that's the way he's won all of his races. He was pretty good in the Randwick Guineas coming from back, but outside of that, there doesn't look to be a lot of speed at all. Quite similar to the Randwick Guineas. So yeah, I'm not sure who's going to take up the running there. Could be another slowly run race, and to be honest, I think that plays into the hands again of Shadow Hero. They couldn't beat him in the Randwick Guineas, and he's going to be even better stepping up to 2,000 metres. We saw that last preparation. That was when he reached his peak figures in that 1,800 to 2,000 metre range. I expect him to be better here, and I think he's clearly the one to beat. He's 4 for 4 in head-to-heads against Castelvecchio, so I can't possibly like Castelvecchio against him, especially given he's more than likely going to be giving Shadow Hero a head start. And I think all the others, you're sort of speculating that they're going to jump out of the ground when Shadow Hero's got the one with the recent form. He's got the turn of foot and he's got the upside. So for me, it's a pretty clear bet for me. And obviously they don't always win, but I think enough of them do and you end up pretty well in the long run.
No worries. Appreciate your time, Dan. Thanks so much for coming on. Good luck on the weekend.
Cheers, guys. Best of luck.
Thanks, Dan. That was Daniel O'Sullivan from the Ratings Bureau, and now we're going to go to one of our favourite segments, In the Know with Snow. Clickety-clack, the Snowman's back.
How are you, Snowy?
Not too bad, boys. Yourself?
How you going after last weekend? You took $51 Benetoite. He cut the corner and loomed up as a $10 chance. That's right, punters. 51s into 10s, if you don't mind. Cut the corner. I reckon hit the front about the 400-metre mark there at Rose Hill. It's a long way home, and he ended up running fourth. But you would have been up and about, were you not?
I tell you what, I jumped out of my seat, but I spoke to Clint earlier, and we're both still licking our paws from that one, that's for sure.
And way up
There
in the
was
sky.
some sort of go, though, wasn't it?
Oh, huge go. Absolutely huge.
And way up in the sky
51
was
into 10.
way up in the sky was 420 into 330. There hasn't been a horse that you've tipped us that's not gone off the map. So listeners, tune in, get your pen and paper out.
Get your pen and paper out. The Snowman's been around the hut. He's made a few calls. Snowy. And the hours are tight.
Just before we get to the race, another little bit of mail for you, Scooter. Your co-host there, he likes to think he's a single-digit golfer. Anyway, on Tuesday, little Birdie tells me he's gone out. He's been beaten off the stick by a 25-plus handicapper. Anyway, he has well and truly cracked it. The toys were thrown out of the cot.
You weren't throwing
By
clubs.
the end of the... Hey?
He wasn't throwing clubs,
By-
was he?
Listen. I was beaten on Tuesday by Brent Zarafa, who's not a great golfer, but a good golfer and a great person. I didn't have a great day. I admit that. I'm a yo-yo when it comes to golf, and I did throw my driver because it's no good. It's the only club I can't hit. And if Callaway or TaylorMade, if you're listening, get in touch.
Who are we going to pick this week, Snowy? We need a market mover. We need a winner.
We've got two anyway. Just Benjamin in the Mornington Cup.
That's
Specifically trained for this, and they are very confident, the boys, the Friedman camp and all the owners. I've spoke to them before, and anyway, I did call Clint before, and he goes, "Oh, not you again," but he reckons he's got one for us. He reckons he's got one for us. He's 2 from 2 this prep and diamond effort in the Hariba. So we'll be going the Mornington Cup and Hariba.
So punters at home with your pens out. That's Mornington, race 7, number 14, Just Benjamin, $4.80 at Top Sport. And then race 8, number 15, Diamond Effort, $4.80 again at Top Sport. Gamble responsibly. But if you've been watching or listening for the last 2 weeks, get set as quick as you can because they're going to go off.
Let's hope we can get back in the winner's stalls, boy.
Good luck. Thank you very much, Snowy. Have a great weekend, mate. I'll see you out there. I won't because we can't get out there. I'll talk to you on the phone. What are we doing?
There's plenty of racing over the weekend. We've got Moonee Valley, Mornington. Jack, have you got a best bet? You've tipped Western Sun up last week at 650. What's your best of the week for the listeners?
Best bet by a mile and as keen as I can ever get to gamble.
Ooh.
Moonee Valley Friday night. Hopefully the great man TB's calling because I just love his dulcet tones when I'm betting. And now that I'm stuck in the cave, it's crucial the on-air talent. And while we're on that, actually quickly, I know I ran out of time, but if you're listening, if you could please start to show the ponies parading without a jockey on, I'd be very, very grateful, and I'm sure a lot of other punters who can no longer get on course would appreciate. Anyway, probably better the month stuff this, Scoot. Moonee Valley, race 8, number 4, Princess Jenny, $3.10 with Top Sport right now. This thing's back to mares. It's 2 from 2 track and trip, 4 from 4 second up. Gets Oliver on. It's the perfect setup, drawn ideally. Convinced it starts 250 and wins.
Friend of the show, Damien Oliver riding, so mark that one down. It's Albury Gold Cup time, and it's Mitchell Beer time, at Beer Mitchell on Twitter. He's probably one of the best operators on Twitter out of anyone that trains racehorses.
Which isn't that hard, though. And he is elite, but he's not up against a lot.
He's a big foodie, but when I say foodie, there's an asterisk. He's anti-coriander. Welcome to Little Birdie, Mitch Beer.
Morning, boys. Yeah, you could have stopped after racehorse trainer. Just Twitter in general would have been great rap.
Big weekend for the local trainer, yeah?
Yeah, it is. It's obviously with everything that's going on, it's put a big a dampener on things. But the races are going ahead. That's the main thing, and we're getting ready for a big Albury Cup day.
Do you want to talk about KFC drive-through being the only way to consume fried chicken, or
will that affect your consumption? Didn't
read well that press release when it said KFC's to close. I went into a bit of cardiac arrhythmia, but when I took a few deep breaths and saw that it was just the over-the-counter stuff, back to normality. No need for panic buying of Wicked Wings up here in Albury.
Now, speaking of cardiac arrhythmia, there's a runner that I liked in race 8 at Albury on Friday. Nemeth, I think it's pronounced. He put up with cardiac arrhythmia last start at a short quote.
Yeah. He was terrific first up. He just got nutted on a tough run, ran second. Then I took him down to Flemington. He ran fourth in a nice race there on that rapid racing day. Came back here to Albury, thought he was unbeatable, and sure enough, he was. He pulled up with the thumps pretty bad. So he's gone back to the trials, trialled really well. He's pleased us, and I think they put up about $8 yesterday. So, I mean, he needs to be all of that for us and the owners to get remotely square on him after last start. But we should go pretty close to putting something back in the bag tomorrow.
I like that young Jay Mallion trialled him for you too. Good sign there.
Yeah, he won on him on debut. And beat some handy horses too. So his horse that I've got a fair amount of time for. He had the blinkers on for the first time when he had that thump. So I've taken them off. I think he sort of had a pretty bad experience with them on. So I've taken them off, gone back to the winkers, and drawn well. I think he's still over the odds tomorrow.
And looking at the Albury Gold Cup, Top Sport are going to go up fun fact, best odds until time of the race. You've got a long shot in the race, Perfect Illusion, 60 to 1. Do you give it any chance?
Yeah, I actually do. He's a horse that absolutely pleases me a lot on the track. He's an import that is still a while away from grasping our racing. His last start in Sydney, at the top of the straight, I thought he was going to run first three, no dramas. Bossy let his head go on the soft, and he just found nothing. His soft track form in Europe is horrible, and he franked that here. Back on top of the ground, out to 2,000. His first up run in the country championships here was terrific. I forget he went around the other day, and probably not for a 2,000 metre listed race, it's probably not the strongest edition of the Albury Cup, and I'll give him a place hope for sure.
And then out wide, our listeners love a little sneaky bet out wide. What's your best on the card for Albury there?
Quite like my Maidener in the first tomorrow. It's way down. I don't even think it's got a start yet. But I'm refreshing the scratching.
Or a rider.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you're going to ride it.
If it gets one, we'll find the other. But been refreshing the scratchings quite vigorously, hoping it gets a run, as hasn't had a start for me yet. It's an ex-Victorian horse. Had a very, very quiet trial at Wagga the other day, and was a big pass mark. So home track, it's one that I think could be very, very close to getting in the winner's stall.
That's race 1, number 17, Boreas. Currently $12 with Top Sport. Gamble responsibly.
Thanks for calling in, Mitch. You're the king of Twitter in times of crisis. We need more of Mitch, and he'll break isolation soon to join us in the studio, so look forward to having you there. Good luck, Mitch.
No dramas, mate. There's plenty of me to go around.
Thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate it. Go well on the weekend.
Cheers, boys.
Well, that's it for episode 4 of Little Birdie. We won't play any episode 3 on air tonight.
Well, we'll forget a little bit more. We ended up getting an hour and 15 on the radio. There was a positive out of a negative, I thought.
What was your best bit of the show?
Today?
Yeah.
Top Rope was good early. He really came into his own, I think, when it was just the three of us. He's a fascinating operator. He's like my golf game, I reckon, up and down big time. He's pro PVL. He'll be anti PVL when he realises what he's doing to the markets that he's betting into. But I love the PVL chat. Hopefully we don't get in too much trouble.
I just hope that the AFL boys come in with a bit more confidence next week. They were very shy this week.
Like fence-sitting behaviour. We'll have to have a chat to them and get that right. But next week, who knows what's happening in this crazy little time we're living in. But hopefully next week we're back and we've got racing to talk about, AFL to talk about, and round 3 of Rugby League to talk about. Rugby League.
Big thanks to our sponsors, Punting Form and topsport.com.au, and always remember to gamble responsibly.